The other day I was in my laboratory and I thought to myself, it'd be kinda cool if I made my own tiny treasure chest. And so I figured that's what we'll do today. Now the plan is pretty straightforward. I just want to build a small treasure chest that looks old, of course looks super cool, and then we can keep a few things inside of. It shouldn't be that difficult to do, but I think it should be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Here I have a scrap pinewood board that I had lying around in the garage. And so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just rip this in half so that we're left with two 3/8 inch thick pieces. Beautiful. So what we want to do is we want this board to look like a series of smaller boards that have been put together, just like how a real treasure chest would look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my table saw blade real low, and I'm just going to run a series of perfectly straight channels right across this. However, instead of running my table saw blade perfectly straight, I'm going to angle it a tad so that these boards look like they've been rounded off. Surprise! If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it, because hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about in just a short while. Here we go. I think that's starting to look pretty realistic. And so with that, I'm going to begin to start cutting this board into sections so we can start building the actual box, or treasure chest if you will. I'm going to make my box 4 inches tall, 4 inches deep, and probably about 7 inches wide. But of course, basically any size would be fine. So now with these pieces cut out, I'm going to go ahead and take my nail gun that has some 5/8 inch nails in there, and of course a little bit of wood glue, and we can begin to put everything together. Now, as I'm sure you probably noticed by now, this whole treasure chest is going to be square as opposed to having a rounded off top like some of the cartoon ones have. And my main motivation for making it this way is so they stack easier, and also I think it looks a lot cooler. Excellent. Now I'm not going to go too crazy on it, but I am going to go ahead and sand it very lightly. Sand, light sanding, sanding lightly, sanding, light sanding, sanding light. Now this is where things get just a little bit more complicated. Here I have another scrap piece of pine, and so what we're going to want to do is cut this into a square 3/4 by 3/4 inch piece. Like so. Next we're going to want to cut out another square out of one of the corners so that we'll be left with nothing but a 90-degree bracket. Just like this. So what we're going to do now is take this and glue it onto the corners all the way around the box. Now it is going to get a little tricky once we reach the corners because we're going to have to cut 45s, but with our miter saw, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, just like we did before, we're going to want to sand this down just a little bit. And if you had some trouble with your side pieces meeting up, don't be afraid to put a little bit of wood filler in there. Has this box been moisturizing before bed every evening? Because it's smooth. With it now sanded, the fun can finally begin. First off, we can finally take this over to the table saw and cut it into two actual pieces, the bottom of the box and then the top of the box. I'm going to try to make my cut about 1.5 inches down, but of course, whatever you feel like doing, go for it. At this point, it's probably a good idea to take a Sharpie and mark how these two pieces go together, because it's just easier to keep track of everything that way. Now, I went ahead and lightly sanded the inside top and bottom of the box after cutting it because it was a little bit jagged, but sadly, I made a mistake. I guess I must have been a little bit heavy-handed sanding the sides of the box, because as you can see, the corners have pulled away just a little bit and there's a tad bit of a gap there now. You guys don't even know how mad I am at myself right now. Every time I look at this now, I see these huge giant gaps. However, this is supposed to look like an old treasure chest, so we'll just try and make this play to our advantage. To really make this pop out and look realistic, I think we need to make it two different colors. So I'm going to try and stain the inside main core of the box Jacobin 2750, because it should make it look nice and dark like old wood is. And then I'm going to try and paint the corners of our box with some gray Rust-Oleum hammered spray paint. I've used this a few times before and it really helps wood look like actual metal, which is what we're going for. I think I'm going to start with the spray paint, so I'm going to go ahead and start taping up what I don't want to get painted, and then we can begin. Now time for the reverse. I tried using the scotch tape again and just taping off what I didn't want to get stained, but it turned out to not be necessary because the stain actually wipes off super easily off the spray paint. So I just grabbed a few Q-tips and went to town, and it ended up working pretty well. And although it is by no means necessary, if you do want this to look even more aged, all you have to do is make a mark with a Sharpie and then smear that mark into the paint. Here I have 60 different locks and hinges that I bought off Amazon for only $10. So what I'm going to do is take two of the hinges and hinge the box together, screwing the hinges down onto the side corner pieces. Perfect. And so with that, we can finally go ahead and mount our latch on the front of the box. And with that, our treasure chest box is now officially complete. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I think it looks pretty cool, and with this old-timey latch we have on it, I think that adds a lot to it as well. And in last week's video, when I made the little army men, a few of you guys said that you wish I built a bigger container to keep more of them in. Well, I was thinking you could keep a whole slew of those guys in here. That would be kind of cool. But I guess keeping just about anything in here would be pretty cool. And so there we have it, our own little tiny treasure chest. But hey, thank you so much for you guys watching. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please feel free to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching, and please feel free to subscribe.